Figma is a design tool to create, share, and test design for websites, mobile apps, and other digital products. Frame is the container for your design. We can create frame in two ways. First, we can click on the frame icon and we can click and drag the mouse and our custom frame is created. Another way we can create frame is, let's undo this frame first. We can click on the frame icon and on the right sidebar we can see we have some presets which comes by default in Figma. We have phone, tablet, desktop, and we have other options as well. For example, we can select iPhone frame here and we can select desktop. Let's select desktop and here we can see our desktop frame is created. Now we can add some objects or layers in this frame. Any object within a frame is called a layer. Whenever we drag and drop any object on this frame, a new layer is created. So let's do it. For example, we can draw a rectangle here and on the left sidebar under this layers panel, we can see rectangle 1 layer is created. Similarly, we can create, for example, a ellipse and we can see ellipse 1 layer is created and we have here options to lock this layer. Whenever we lock a layer, then this layer cannot be modified. We cannot move this layer or we cannot resize. So let's unlock it and we can hide this layer as well. Now we can combine these layers into a group. To do this, we have to select these layers and if we right click, we have an option group selection and here we can see a group of our layers is created. We can name our group, for example, shapes, and we have the same options in the group as well. For example, to lock the group and to hide. If we hide, all the layers within this group are hidden and we can unhide it and we can lock the group as well. So multiple objects can be combined in a group. We can create different types of shapes. For example, we can create a rectangle. For this, we have to select the rectangle and click and drag the mouse. A rectangle is created. If we want to create a square, we have to select rectangle and press the keyboard button shift and click and drag the mouse and we can see a square is created. Similarly, if we want to create a ellipse, we can click and drag, ellipse is created. If we want to create a circle, we have to select ellipse and press shift and click and drag the mouse, a circle is created. Next, we have some other options. Let's create a rectangle and we can create a circle. Let's change the color of this rectangle. On the right panel, we have this fill option. From here, we can change the color to, for example, red, and we can change the circle color to green. And now we can move this on the rectangle. And if we select both of these, we have some options on the top toolbar here. We can union selection. If we click on it, you can see we have created a new shape by combining the circle and the rectangle. And let's undo it. And similarly, we can subtract selection and you can see the output here. And we can intersect selection, and we have exclude selection. So you can use these options. And now let's create some rectangles. For example, here. Now if we want the space between all these three rectangles to be same, we can select these three rectangles, and we have to go to the right panel, and here in the more options we have distribute horizontal spacing. If we click on it, you can see now the space between these three rectangles is same. Similarly, let's draw some more rectangles. And now if we want the space between these three rectangles to be same, again we can select these three rectangles, and we can go to the more options, and we can click on distribute vertical spacing. Now the vertical spacing between these three rectangles is same. Another thing we can do is we can create a rectangle, and let's type some text. Hello world. We can make selection of two things. For example, we can make selection of this rectangle and this text, and if we let's increase the font size a bit, we can make it 20 for example. And now let's select both text and rectangle, and now we can resize it. You can see now if we are resizing, the rectangle is resizing but the font is not resizing. Font size is same. If we want to resize, change the font size accordingly, and with the rectangle as well, we can go to the top toolbar. Here we have a scale option. We have to select it. Now if we scale it, you can see both the rectangle and the font size is decreasing, and similarly if we increase it, both the rectangle and the font size is increasing. To add a text, you can either press keyboard shortcut T, or you can go to the toolbar on the top and click on the T icon and click and add text. This is some text, and you can see it is resizing horizontally by default. And if we add some more text, this is some more text, you can see it auto resize horizontally. Another way we can add text is we can click on the T icon and click and drag the mouse to create a fixed dimension. Now if we type this is some text for testing, now you can see some part of our text move to the next line. It is because we have a fixed dimension, so our text has to remain in this fixed dimension. And if we add some more text, this is some more text for testing the functionality. You can see some part of our text is going outside this fixed dimension boundary. To fix it, we can make it resize vertically. For this, we have to go to the right panel, and here we have option auto height. We have to click on it, and now we can see our text is within this fixed dimension boundary. And if we add some more text, this is some more text for testing. Now you can see our boundary is resizing vertically automatically. Let's add more text. Hello world. And we have alignment options here. For example, we can make it align center, we can make it align right, and we have some other options as well. For example, we can select it, and here we can make it uppercase, lowercase, and title case, and we have some other options as well here. Let's create another text. Learning, and make it left align. We can increase the font size from here. Let's make it 40, and here we can change the font. We can select from the fonts available here, or we can search, for example, gluten, and here we can make it bold. These options depends on the font you selected. Sometimes you will see more options here, sometimes less options, sometimes no options at all. So it depends on the font you have selected. And here we have fill option. You can make it red, for example, and we have a stroke here. You can see a stroke is added. Let's increase some font to, for example, 64, and we can increase the boundary as well. And from here you can manage the thickness of the stroke. And here we have effects. You can see a drop shadow effect is applied. If you want to hide the effect, you can click on the eye icon. Similarly, you can click on the eye icon everywhere to hide that particular thing. There are multiple ways by which we can add images. The first way is we can go to file, and here we have place image option. We need to click on it, and we can choose the image, and we need to click and drag the mouse, and our image is placed. The next way is, let's create a rectangle first. Suppose we want to fill this rectangle with an image. For this, we can go to the fill property of this rectangle, and here we have image option. We need to click on it and then choose image, and we can choose the image. You can see our rectangle is filled with the image, and we have some more properties to fit. We can crop it, and we can make it a tile. Let's decrease the size so you can see the tile better. So you can see the tile pattern is created. The next way is we can drag and drop and place the image. You can see image is placed. The next way is, suppose we have a, let's create a circle, and we want to create a mask of the image. So for this, we need to place the image over this circle. Right now the circle is over the image, so we need to change it. We can drag and drop the ellipse layer below, and here ellipse layer is behind the image now, and we can select both the layers, and here we have use as mask option. So we need to click on it, and here we can see a mask is created. Components are elements that we can reuse across our designs, so they help in maintaining consistency across our projects. We can create components for different type of things such as buttons, icons, layouts, and many more. So let's create a button component. So let's select rectangle and let's draw a rectangle, and we can change the corner radius to make the corners round. Let's make it 20, and we can change the fill color to green, and let's add some text on it. Add to cart, and we can increase the font size to 22, and we can make it bold. All right, our button is ready. Now we can create a component of this button. To create a component, we have to first select all the layers which we needed in the component. So in this case, we need the rectangle and add to cart text. So we have to select both layers, and on the top here we can see there is an option create component. We need to click on it, and now our component is created. We can add some variants to this component. To add a variant, we have to go on the top toolbar, and here we can see a option add variant. We need to click on it, and here we can give a name to this variant, for example on hover, and we can change the color of this button to maybe a little light, and we can change the text to maybe black. Let's make the button a little light. Looks good now. Okay, so let's add a one more variant. Select it, and again we can change the color for selected variant to black, a little darker, maybe dark green. Now our component is ready, and in the assets we can see we have this component which we just created, and we can drag and drop this component in our design. And here this is the default variant of the component, and if we want, for example, the hover variant, we can select from the property here on hover. Now we have on hover variant of the component which we just created, and similarly we can select the selected variant of this component as well. So we have three variants. One is the default one, the second one is the on hover, and the selected variant. Now let's create some another element. For example, we can create a radio button. For this we have selected ellipse, and let's draw a circle, and we can make it white. Right now it is not visible due to white color, so let's add a stroke to it, and we can make the stroke a little bit thick. So here now our radio button is created, and next we can make it a component, and we have to go to the top toolbar, and here we have a option create component. If we click on it, now our radio button is created, and we have the component created for the same. And let's add a variant to this radio button, and we have to go to the top, and here there is an option add variant, and we can give this a name, for example selected. and we can add another circle in it to make it look like it is selected. Let's make it a bit bigger. All right, and we can change the fill of this to black. And now we can see our radio button component is also created, and if we drag and drop it anywhere, we can see this is the default variant of the radio button. And if we go to the property, and we can change it to selected, and now we have the selected variant of this radio button which we just created. We can create these component as interactive components. So to do that, let's first create a interactive component of this add to cart. We have to go to the prototype section, and we have to select the component here, and in the component we have this add to cart. This is the default variant. We have to double click on it, and here you can see there is an option here, and we have to click on this plus icon and drag it to the next variant, which is on hover. So here there is a pop-up, and in this prompt we have to select mouse enter, because on mouse enter we want this default variant to change it to on hover variant. Next, if we if we take our mouse back from this button, then we want it again to look like the default variant. So we have to click again on this plus icon of this on hover button and link it with the default variant. And now we have to select option mouse leave, because on mouse leave we will be changing this to the default variant. Next, if user clicks on this button, we want to change it to selected variant. So let's click and drag this anchor to the last variant which is selected, and we have this on click event, and on click it will be changed to selected variant. So now our add to cart component is interactive, and if we drag and drop this component anywhere, and let's make this other component which we imported to default variant. All right, so now we have this component imported 2 times, and here there is an option present. We have to click on it, and here if we hover over, you can see the button is changed to on hover variant, and if we leave the mouse, it is changed back to the default variant, and if we click on it, it is changed to the selected variant. So similarly we have imported this component 2 times, so we have this option as well. And if we hover, you can see it is working interactively. We can also make this radio button component to a interactive component. To do this, we have to go to prototype section, and here in the radio button component, let's select this default variant, and here you can see the plus icon is here. We have to click and drag the mouse to the next variant, which is the selected variant, and on click it will be changed to selected variant. And we want it to work vice versa. For example, if user clicks it again, it should be unselected. So we have to click on selected variant and link it with the default variant, and on click it will be changed to default variant. So now our component is interactive and we can drag and drop anywhere we want, and let's test it. To test, we have to click on the present icon, and here if we click on it, you can see it is selected, and if we click on it again, it is unselected. So it is working interactively. And here we have also imported one radio button, and it is also working interactively. These days, we use one design for all screen resolutions. For example, on a phone, user would see content shows in a single column view. A tablet might show the same content in two columns. This is where responsive design comes into play. We will create a responsive grid system for desktop, tablet, and mobile devices. Most common number of columns are 12 on desktop, 8 on tablet, and 4 on mobile. So let's create a responsive grid system for desktop. So we have to click on the frame icon and select the desktop frame. And on the right panel, you see there is a layout grid option, and we have to click on the plus icon, and in the layout grid settings, we have to select columns, and in the column count we have to enter 12 because we want 12 columns. And you can see behind the scene in the frame 12 columns are created. Type, we can keep it stretch. Stretch means the width of column will automatically grow or shrink when we resize the frame. Margin, we can set it to 70, and gutter we can keep it 20. Gutter is the negative space between columns. So here you can see the gutter space. We are creating 8-point grid system as most of the screen sizes are divisible by 8. So let's create rows. We have to click on the plus icon, and here we have to select rows. In the count, we can enter 1000, and type top. Height we can give 8, and gutter we can make it 0. So our responsive grid system for desktop is created. Now let's add some content blocks to it. So we have created a rectangle. You will notice now everything snaps to the grid. This makes things simple to arrange and makes all the measurements consistent, and everything is divisible by 8. So here you can see everything snaps to the grid. So let's add some more rectangles. We can copy paste, and on the right panel you can see we have a constraints options. So let's select these 3 rectangles, and here you can see we have different options. Constraints are used to fix content on a layout to the left, right, top, bottom, and center of the grid. And let's select left and right. Now, if we alter the frame size, the contents act responsively and change size also. So let's test it. We have selected the frame, and if we shrink the frame, you can see the rectangles are also shrinking, and you can see, so it is acting responsively. Next, let's create responsive grid system for a tablet. We have to click on the frame icon, and here in the tablet we can select iPad mini. We can copy and paste the columns and rows from our desktop frame. So we have selected the desktop frame, and here if you mouse over, a hand icon will appear. You can press shift and click on the columns as well and copy. Then you have to go to the iPad frame and paste. Now we have to change the columns. For this we have to click here and change the columns to 8. Margin we can keep it 70 and gutter 20 as well. So our responsive grid system for iPad is created. Next, let's create responsive grid system for iPhone. So we have to click on the frame icon and go to the right side and select the iPhone. We can select iPhone 14 and 15 Pro Max. Again, we have to go to previous frame and we can copy the rows and columns from here. We have to press shift and we can select copy. Then we can go to iPhone frame and paste it here. And here we have to change the columns to 4 and margin we can make it 20. All right. So here our responsive grid system for iPhone is also created. So now we have responsive grid system for a desktop, iPad and iPhone. Purpose of a wireframe is to create a basic structure of each screen in the design before things like branding, images and colors are considered. So wireframe is just a blueprint. Suppose we are creating a website for a restaurant where users can order food and reserve a table. So let's create wireframes for reserve a table functionality screens. We will be creating mobile first design as most users on the web nowadays access website on their mobile devices. So let's create a frame, and on the right panel we can select for example iPhone 13 and 14, and now we have this frame and let's create a grid, and from the layout grid settings we have to select columns and we are creating 4 column grid. Margin we will set 25. Now our grid is ready. Now we will be adding placeholders for element of wireframes. So let's select rectangle and let's add rectangle here. So here we will be having navigation. So let's add text here, navigation. After that we will be having a image here. Let's change the fill color to differentiate it from the rectangle above. We can make it this and it will be image here. We can copy paste these rectangles below to create placeholder for other elements. So let's copy this navigation rectangle and text. You can press Alt and drag to create copy, and here we will be having description. So it will be a little bit more in height. So let's make rectangle a little bit longer. Next we can copy this image rectangle and text, and again we can press Alt and drag it, and Here we will be having information. So let's add information text here. So after that, we will be having submit button. So again, we can copy any layer and text. We can copy navigation. We can press Alt and drag. Let's resize the rectangle. Will be submit button. Now we have to select all these layers of text and rectangles we have just created, and we have to click and drag them outside the frame like this. Now we have to unselect the text layers. So for that we can press Ctrl and unselect the text layers. And now we have to resize these rectangle layers to make them smaller like this. And let's select the text layers and move them a little bit on the right. All right, looks good now. So on the right side we have the frame, and on the left side we have the guide which we just created. So now we know that navigation should take this much height. Similarly, the image will take this much height, and description will have this much height. Similarly, information will have this much height, and submit button will have this much height. So let's add elements now. And here I am creating a circle. So here we will be having back button. After that we will be having logo here. And here we will be having cart button. And after that we will be having image here. You can select drawing rectangle from here so that you know the height. For example, here you can match the height of this rectangle from the rectangle on the left, and now we know this will have this much height, and you can resize the width after that. All right, after that we will be having description heading here, user table. And after that we will be having a short description. All right, next in the information we will have options for the user to select date, time and number of diners. So let's write, right, 'date', 'time', 'number' of diners. So let's write date. 'Time', 'number' of diners. So let's write, 'date', 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 'time', 'number' of diners. So let's write, 'd and you can press Alt and click and drag to copy, and here we will be having time. Again you can press Alt and click and drag to create a copy. Here we will be having number of diners option. Now here we will be having option to select date. Let's create a copy of it. Here we will be having option to select time. After that we will be having option to select number of diners. As I drag, you can see it shows the space. Now we have similar space here and here. Next we will be having submit button here. We can make this a little bit darker. Next let's add some text here. We have to change the color in order to make it visible. And here we have this text. Right now we are not able to see the text because the text layer is behind this rectangle layer, so let's fix it. I have selected the layer and you can see on the left this is the layer. You can move this layer after the reserved layer, for example, and now our text is visible. And let's increase the font size. Looks good now. Okay, so we have this wireframe ready. Now let's create another wireframe which will appear when user click on reserve button. So we have to create a new frame. Again we have to select iPhone 13 and 14, and let's create a grid and go to columns here. It will be having 4 columns and margin will be 25. You can press spacebar and here you can see a hand icon appears and you can move the screen. Let's move to the left. Okay, now to create this wireframe we can copy paste the elements from the first wireframe because it has some common elements, so it will be quicker as well. So let's copy, for example, these layers. You can press Alt and drag on the next frame, and here our layers are copied. Next we can select these rectangles and again we can press Alt and drag them. Next let's select the text layers and press Alt and drag them to the right. Alright, now we can make changes to this second wireframe. Here the navigation will be same and there will be no image, so we can remove this image rectangle, and instead of image we will be having reservation details here. Reservation details. Let's move the screen a little bit on the left. All right, and we can move this text here. Next we can move this text here. Here we will be having reservation details. Similarly, we can copy this date, time and number of layers on the top. Let's change the size of these. Maybe we can make them 18, and this also, and number of diners, and here we have these options. You can press Alt and drag to create a copy, and here will be the date, for example 5 December 2023. Again we can create a copy of it. Here it will be the time, and again we can create a copy, and here we will have number of diners. All right, we don't need this text, we can remove it, and we don't need these options as well. Description, we will not be having description, so we have removed it, and we can increase this personal information rectangle, and we can change the fill color to maybe a little darker to differentiate it from the rectangle on the top and the bottom. And here instead of information we will have personal information, and let's move it here. Next we can copy this text here, and here we will be having personal information, and next we will have first name. Here we can copy this text, first name, and after that we will have the field here. So let's create a rectangle here. Let's add a stroke to it. After that we will have last name, so we can select these layers and press Alt and drag them to copy below, and here we will have last name, and after that we can select them again and copy them below for the next field, which is phone. Let's make the space between these fields equal, so let's select the layers, and if we move it you can see it shows the space 43 and 43, so we know now that it is equal, and we can release the mouse. And here now let's change this reserve button to checkout. All right, our second wireframe is also ready. You can add some more information if you want. For example, here you can add information for this circle. So we can add that. Similarly, we can copy it here. So you can add information for these elements as well. So our both wireframes are ready. Rapid prototyping is the process of creating a fast initial version that closely resembles the final product. We have different type of fidelity level prototypes where users can test. Low fidelity prototype allows users to concentrate on how they will use a product. Mid fidelity prototypes allows users to concentrate on interactivity. High fidelity prototypes, which closely resembles the finished product, are created using tools such as Figma. UI kit is a collection of elements such as buttons, forms, icons, typography, and other graphic illustrations that can be used by designers and developers to create consistent user interfaces for websites, mobile apps, etc. So here I have created a UI kit and I have added some text elements here and also the colors which we will use in our design, and we have some icons here and the logo. So we can follow this UI kit to create consistent design of our pages. We can add more elements to this UI kit. We just have to create and drag and drop the elements here, and you can also create your own UI kit which you will use in your design. Styles help us to create consistency across our designs. So let's create some styles based on this UI kit which we will be using in our design. So let's create, for example, this is a call to action text, and here we can see it is medium 26 Carla. So let's create a style. To create a style, you have to go to the section and here you see style option. Here you have to click on it, and here we have to click on the plus symbol, and we have to give a name to this style. So we can say button text, and here we can add description. This is button text, and we can click on create style. So here our button text style is created. We can apply this style to text written in the button. Next we have this text for description. So let's select it and go to style and click on the plus icon, and we can create style description. This is description, create style. Next we have this regular page text, and we can create a style for this as well, page text. This description is optional, so we can skip it. And next we have this section titles, medium 26. So we can select and we can create style, section title, and click on create style. Next we have color here, so let's select the color, and if we go to the right panel and click on style option in the section, and we have to click on the plus icon, and here we can give it a name, primary 1, and create style. Next we have the another color, let's create a style for it as well, primary 2. create style. Next we have logo here. We can create a style for it as well. We have to go to style and click on the plus icon, and we can give it a name. Here right now variable is selected. We have to select style. We can give it a name, for example logo, and click on create style. And here we have some icons. We can create style for it. Here we have calendar icon, and let's create a style. Calendar. And similarly we have some other icons as well. We can create style for them if we want. We can select the icon, and we have to go to the style option in the section and click on the plus icon and click on style part and click on create style. And now our styles are created. We can follow this UI kit while creating our designs to maintain consistency across our designs. Now we will convert wireframes to high fidelity design, which is the design that closely resembles the final product. So here we have our UI kit. We will be following this UI kit. So let's select all the elements in this UI kit and we can group them. Let's create a group and name it like UI kit. And now let's add our wireframes in this. We can create a group of our wireframe elements as well. So let's select all the elements and right click, and here we have option group selection, and we can give it a name, for example wireframe, and we can copy it. And here we have our UI kit elements, and it's on page 1. We can create another page, for example page 2, and on the page 2 we can paste our wireframes. And here, so now on the page 1 we have our UI kit which we can follow, and on the page 2 we have wireframes which we will be converting to high fidelity design. So let's do it. We can use the styles which we created in the UI kit to quickly convert these wireframes to high fidelity design. So let's do it. So here we will have logo. So let's select it, and if we go to fill, we can select the image from here, but we have style created for it. So we can simply go to styles, and here we have logo style. So we have to select it, and here our logo is applied. And next here we will be having our image. So for the image we have to go to fill, and we have to go to image here and choose image, and we can choose the image, and here our image is selected. And here we have reserved table. We have to apply the style here. You have to go to styles, and here we will have, it is a section title, so we will apply section title style to it. And next we have description here, and for this we can add description style here. And let's resize a little bit. Looks good now. And here we have page text here, so we can select multiple layers by pressing shift button and clicking the layers and this layer as well. And now we can go to the styles here again, and we can select page text, and here on the right side here we will be having the cart icon. So we can go to fill and select the cart icon, and here we will be having the back button. So we can create a back button here. We have to give a stroke so that it is visible, and we can create a arrow to make it look like a back button. So for this you can go to resources here and plugins. You can type material icons, and here you have material design icons. You can click on it and click on run, and here we have icons. We can select, for example, back, and if we press enter, and here we have back icons. We can use any, so let's select this one. All right, now we have to resize it. We have to press shift to resize it proportionally. Let's resize a little bit more. All right, looks good now. And let's increase the stroke a little bit. We can make it 2, and here we will be having calendar icon. So let's select it and replace it with calendar style icon, and now we have calendar here. And here we will have time icon. For the option to select time, we have not created style for time icon, so we can copy it from our UI. We can delete it, and here we can go to our page 1 and we can copy the time icon here, and we can go to page 2, and here we can paste it and we can resize it. Let's make this calendar icon a little bit bigger. Right now you don't see grid here because here we have disabled it. You can show layout grids anytime by going here. You can click on it, and here our grids are displayed. And if you want to hide it, you can again go here and click on layout grids to hide them. Next we have button at the bottom, so let's select it. And if we go to UI kit, we can see it has rounded corners of 20, so we can make the rounded corners 20. And let's resize the button. All right, looks good now. And for the text, we have style here, button text. And for the button color, we will use style primary 2. And our first wireframe is converted to high fidelity design. So now let's move to the next wireframe, and we can copy paste items from the first wireframe. So first, for the logo, again we can use the style logo, and for the cart icon we can use the style cart. And here for the back button, we can delete this and copy this from the first screen. So let's do it, and we can press alt and drag it. All right, next here we have section titles. So this reserve details and personal information. We can select both by pressing shift keyboard button, and let's select it and apply the style section title. And for this page text, we can select it by pressing shift again. We can select multiple text, and we can apply the style page text. And here for the first name, last name and phone, again we can go to text style and apply page text. And for the checkout button, again we can go here and select the color primary 2. And for the text, we have button text, and let's resize it and first make the corners round, and we are 20. Now let's resize it. We can press shift and again we can resize, and let's move it. Alright, so looks good now. Next we have these text fields, and we have to again press shift, and let's change the fill color to white. Let's move this personal information section title a little bit to the down. So now we have high fidelity design for both screen is ready. So we can remove these guides which we have created: navigation, image, description, information, submit, back, and the details here as well. You can select it by clicking and pressing shift key, and you can select multiple items. And similarly we will be hiding these as well, and we can select these and the back text here. And so this is for the first screen, so we can create group of it. We have to right click and click on group selection, and we can make it, for example, guide 1, and we can simply click on the eye icon to hide them. And we can do the same thing for the second screen as well. So let's do it. We have to select the element, and we can select multiple again by pressing shift key, and here we have selected the elements, and we can create group of these elements, and we can name this group, for example, guide 2. So similarly we can click on the eye icon to hide them. We can show the guides anytime by clicking on the eye icon again. So here our high fidelity design for both screens are ready. I have created another high fidelity design, that is this homepage screen design. So I have followed the same steps which we followed for reserve table and checkout page. So now we have three pages. On the first page, that is the home page, we have description here, and here we have a reserve table button. And when user click on reserve a table button, user will be redirected to the reserve a table page, and here user can select the options. And when click on reserve button, user will be redirected to the checkout page where user can see the reservation details and fill out personal information such as first name, last name, phone, etc. Now we will create interactive prototype using these high fidelity designs. To create prototype, first we have to make sure on the left side in the layers our root elements should be frames, not anything else. So right now we can see on the left side in the layers, the root elements is not framed. We have a group here and we have some other elements outside the frame as well. So first we have to make sure our root elements here are frames. To do that, so let's expand this. And here we have three frames. First is this one and this and this. So let's rename these first. Home, home page. And here we have reserve table page, and this one is checkout page. Alright, so now let's move the elements inside these frames. So first we have this, and this is the rectangle. It is supposed to be in this second screen, which is reserve table. So let's expand this frame and move it in this. After that we have rectangle 9, which belongs to home page. So let's move it to home page. And button primary, again it belongs to home page. And then we have this image, it also belongs to home page. And we have this home order, it also belongs to home page. And this fine dine and Calgary, we have to move these and also these to home page. All right, now all the elements are in these frames. We can arrange these. This is the home page first, and this is the reserve table and checkout. And now we have one vector here, so we have to move these as well. These belongs to the second screen, that is the reserve table. So let's move them. Okay, still we have this wireframes group in the root. We have to move these frames. So let's select these and move them outside and make them root. So now these frames are on the root. Now we have to go to the right panel, and here we have prototype option. We have to click on it. And now if we go to any element, for example reserve table, and here you can see a blue circle appears, and we have to click on it and drag it to the screen where we want the user to redirect it to when user clicks on this button. So on click on that, we will redirect them to this second page, which is reserve table. And here we have options on click and navigate to, so it is fine. Next, when user clicks on reserve table, we will move them to checkout page. So here when I mouse over this button, the blue circles are appearing. We have to click on it and link it with the third screen, that is checkout page. So on click, navigate to checkout page. And here we have some other options as well, on drag, while hovering. So you can select these as per the case. Next, on click on this back button, user will be redirected back to reserve page. And similarly, on clicking on this back button, user will be redirected back to the home page. Alright, now we have linked the items, and we have to go to toolbar, and here we have present option. We have to click on it. And here is our high fidelity design screen. This is the home page, and if we click on reserve table, and now user is redirected to the reserve table, and user can go back by clicking on the back. And again let's click on reserve table, and user can select the date, time and number of diners, and user will click on reserve button, and user is redirected to the next page, that is the checkout page. So in this way, we can create interactive prototypes.